Hello, and welcome to a new episode of This Is My Offer, where we highlight unique partner offerings powered by AWS. My name is Gavin Phillips, and I'm the worldwide partner leader at AWS for the life sciences industry. And today it's my pleasure to speak with Marianne and Alex, who are both cybersecurity specialists at PwC, one of our strategic partners in the life sciences industry. So thank you both and the PwC team for your partnership with AWS. And today I understand that we'll learn a little bit more about a unique life sciences security offering. I also understand it could be applied to other industries as well, which is fantastic. And we'd really like to discuss your solution and how it's addressing customer challenges. So with that, Marianne, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks so much, Gavin, for having us here today. We're really happy to talk to you about some of the challenges that we're hearing in the marketplace and how we've been looking to address them, particularly in the life sciences industry. One of the things that we keep hearing from our clients is the challenges that they have around their visibility and actionability of the security information. There is a lot of areas, especially in the incident response space, where you need more visibility, but it's just too costly in order to get a good founding, a good sense of the information that you have in the environment. How can I do that, but in a cost-effective manner? That is one of the big questions that we are getting from our clients regularly. Another is the other areas around security, things like your vulnerability management, things like your GRC solutions, these areas where traditionally there's been a lot of very manual tasks. And how can they better increase automation, be able to increase efficiencies for these teams and enable those solutions more broadly? Finally, we're also hearing a lot of folks who are dealing with audit fatigue. So many people coming and asking them for the same information over and over. But they have to remember where to pull those logs from or where to get the screenshots from, or just spend that continuous amount of time updating all of the different regulators and compliance areas. So we've been engaging with them about how they can better enable that more continuous sense of compliance.
Well, Marianne, that is very exciting. And at AWS, security is job zero, and it's a topic that's always one of our highest priorities across all of our industries and businesses. And so, Alex, can you maybe tell us a little bit more about some of the challenges that you see in the life sciences industry and with some of the customers and clients that you're working with?
Yes, thanks, Gavin. Appreciate that. Well, we live in a time where data has exploded in every single business and trying to varying degrees in different industries, and everyone is relying very heavily on that data. As we continue to think through the lens of that data-driven decision-making is still the best way to operate a business. So specifically when it comes to life sciences, we see a massive amount of data, and that those data sets are coming from a variety of different sources. As those source systems are becoming more and more numerous, and the volume that's coming off of them is becoming more and more voluminous, we continue to kind of evolve as a world of technology and technologists that operate in it, so that making sure that we have the downstream impact of having all those different data sources, to your point earlier, is becoming more and more difficult. So it's becoming more and more imperative for us to have an appropriate and comprehensive visibility across each one of those source systems, and making sure it's covering the entire digital estate for a client or an organization. I'll also say, as Marianne made a comment earlier, this is kind of the crux of the problem statement we run into with all of our clients, and a lot of them are saying pretty much the same thing. So we work with AWS from PwC's perspective to bring those new features and functionality to the marketplace over the course of the last year, and since then we've done a lot more. Specifically, about a year ago, we were the #1 launch partner with AWS for Amazon Security Lake when it went to general availability in its marketplace. And at its core, Security Lake is really solving one of the underpinnings of this, which is the normalization of data sets across the entire digital estate. We talked about source systems, and now let's kind of talk about the normalization of those data sets. So those different source systems have outputs of that data that look and smell and feel differently. They're all unique. And that is, in fact, one of the challenges here, because making sure that you have the ability to garner insights from the disparate data sets is kind of paramount before you can start applying some analytics and achieving some insights from that. So normalization continues to be one of that kind of key issues that's super important here. So the idea is that Security Lake is now introduced. You're solving that piece, and everything's falling into place. So now all that data is normalized, and that's kind of where we are right now as this pertains, not like you said, not only to life sciences, but also to kind of industries outside of that as well. The idea behind a lot of this is, how do we go ahead and capitalize on the data normalization, the corresponding analytics, while also consolidating into a single pane of glass? So as you kind of talked earlier about all of those disparate systems, there's a bunch of different tools behind each and every one of those. And kind of the operations of yesteryear was swivel chair operations, and you're kind of actioning off of one application to another, to another, to another, and the list goes on and on. So having a single pane of glass that brings all those different actioning together into a single place is imperative for us to kind of solve this problem in an efficient manner. There's another big piece here, which is how do we solve for one of the biggest challenges across the security industry, regardless of which vertical we're talking about, and that is staffing shortages and negative unemployment. I talk about negative unemployment a lot, and the punchline is there's literally more jobs than there are humans to fill those jobs. And a key part to close that gap in short order is the application of that centralized management automation. Specifically, having machine learning capabilities from AWS services like SageMaker or Bedrock or Q is allowing us to kind of close that unemployment gap. So thinking about this in terms of training and getting people up to speed and becoming subject matter experts, that's a journey that takes years typically. And what we're able to do with the adoption of some of these technologies is shorten that cycle of training and accelerate the time to subject matter expertise. So that's kind of, hopefully capturing the essence of kind of the different services, some of the different challenges that we're trying to solve, all against the backdrop of adopting and applying AWS services with PwC expertise. Does that make sense, Gavin?
No, absolutely, Alex, and thank you for that. And and I really think it's helpful for the listeners here, and I think it's also important to highlight some of those technologies. And you mentioned as you were speaking about how it's been enabled by AWS, and what are some of the things that we should really be highlighting to customers or clients and taking advantage of in the AWS platform.
Yeah, so making sure that we're taking advantage of all the different kind of services and flexibility that AWS offers as a hyperscaler. And one of the kind of things that we wanted to do is making sure that this is customizable. So what we see, a lot of the time when we see commercial off-the-shelf solutions is that it's either a rip and replace value prop or it's an additional value prop, and you're really not eliminating any kind of complexity from the day-to-day operations. What we've built here against and on top of AWS services is intended to be customizable and modular based. And the idea is that those different modules will perform different tasks such that a client specific to their use case can pick and choose the different pieces that they want to use, and they're not beholden to taking down an entire platform. So again, the idea behind that is making sure that it's flexible and it meets the client where they are in their security journey. So that's kind of the big punchline on that. But ease of use, ease of operation is another thing that we always talk about. So making sure that we're deploying these things as infrastructure as code, not only from a deployment perspective, but also from a resilience perspective. So having the ability to not only fail over, but rebuild in a fast and efficient manner with no loss of data and keeping data integrity in check through the course of the entire process is again paramount to all of that. And then, thinking about the flexibility approach from an ecosystem perspective as it pertains to some of the more emerging pieces. Namely, when I talk about that, I'm alluding to Bedrock specifically. So having Bedrock's approach to generative AI is a big differentiator, I think, for our clients as well as AWS clients. And the idea is that you're not beholden to one library of foundational models, but you literally have an ecosystem of different providers that you can choose from. So you're going to have some that are going to perform better in some use cases versus the others. And that's, again, kind of going back to that, focus and, relentless focus on making sure that it's customizable in an easy way. So that's a big one that I think is important for us to call out as well. So yeah, I mean, at this point, we can go ahead and kind of take a peek at those big modular pieces if we want to, and kind of see what that looks like. Does that sound like a plan, Marianne?
Yeah, I think that speaking about the use cases that we talked about at the top here, clearly leveraging the technologies that you just spoke to enables those use cases. So for example, in the incident response augmentation space, being able to take that large amount of data, be able to do some of the auto archival immediately enables that longer term storage for a cheaper cost. So it really helps support them see more things and see it longer or cheaper. It also enables things like advanced threat hunting and querying, because you're able to actually see and mine through that information for a fraction of the cost. And for the other areas, right, it really enables some other capabilities there as well. Like for the security automation space, some of the workflow management tools and leveraging AI can expedite use cases around vulnerability management. It can be one of the things that is really one of the plays with one of our largest clients, enabling that centralized view from vulnerability management standpoint, providing insights to all of the different application owners and helping them prioritize given tasks that they have to do in a very streamlined manner.
Yeah, I double down on everything you just said there, specifically calling attention to that cost perspective. I think for life sciences specifically, one of the big ones is cost fatigue, right? So we live in a day and age where we're seeing, budgets for these organizations remain level, if not decreasing a little bit, and making sure that we're being wise about the technology that we're implementing and having the ability to offset or reduce costs in other areas. One in particular is we kind of look at how things are priced in the world of security event and incident management, or SIM tools today. And we're seeing orders of magnitude in reduction of what those costs are right now. So I can throw out kind of one of the things that I read recently was something to the effect of around $5 a gigabyte in storage cost associated with some of the SIMs today. And then we look at some of the AWS services and juxtapose that against it. And we're looking at orders of magnitude cheaper to the extent that it's almost 20 cents a gig for similar storage. So there's the numbers themselves that kind of speak a pretty strong story there. But then also having a partner like PwC to partner with AWS and say, let's use our security expertise and make sure that we're actually developing a comprehensive plan on when you're taking advantage of hot storage versus cold storage, and obviously all the intermediate versions of how you're keeping storage around, as well as having it on call in a fast and efficient manner in example that you're going to do an investigation. So I think that's another one that I would just double down on from that perspective.
Absolutely. And in security automation, right, some of the work that we've been doing at that large client, enabling vulnerability management, providing insights to their leadership team, and being able to really help tell that story to the board, to the executives that really care and need to make decisions based on that information.
So specifically, as we look through the lens of vulnerability management programs, today these are often done in a very arduous fashion. They're extremely manual, extremely time intensive. And a lot of the time, at the end of the day, they're using spreadsheets to make sure that they're managing how things are operating. Unfortunately, that's difficult as we continue to scale, and we talked about data volumes and data sources exploding over the years. This is no exception to that rule. So as a result of that, making sure that we're able to unlock some automation and reduce the amount of time used to pursue something is extraordinarily important. So having the availability, like we said, to go in through a single pane of glass, to view a laundry list of vulnerabilities and the corresponding actions, as well as prioritization behind them, to make sure that you have a clear visibility of what's going on at a very given moment in time, as well as having those repeatable as well as ad hoc visibility into those reports themselves. So that's a big deal to make sure that we're able to provide that as another specific module that takes into account a lot of the services, including but not limited to some of the generative AI functionality that we were talking about earlier by way of Bedrock. Marianne, from a compliance perspective, what are you thinking?
Yeah, for the compliance use case, there's a lot of regulations that our life sciences clients need to adhere to work through, be able to pull data for, as I mentioned at the top of this discussion. And that can be really challenging because you have to keep track of where you're pulling those data sources. It can change from time to time. You don't necessarily know the tie-ins. You have different regulators that are coming in asking the same questions. So trying to make sure that that's seamless for the security teams is really key. Being able to query those things in a much more simple manner, being able to ask questions about how these different compliance frameworks may be tied together so that you can understand apples to apples and what you should be doing, especially the application teams that need to configure and aren't living and breathing the regulation all the time, but are just needing to supply those evidences.
Yeah, and I think, one thing that I would try to highlight that you just said there is the use and the application of generative AI is imperative, right? So these frameworks are changing. There's a variety of different frameworks. And, one of the things that we like to do is build that knowledge base behind some of these use cases such that we're establishing subject matter expertise for these models to be smart enough to provide the appropriate target destination for a particular framework, as well as obviously what things are in a current state, and creating a visibility of specific steps, what we call crosswalk, to get from current state to target state. That's one of the big ones. And like I said, from a generative AI perspective, those are things that are now afforded to us that were not previously, we weren't able to do those before then. So that's kind of a view that the team has built. I think it's extraordinarily impressive. I think it's a great opportunity to highlight the capabilities of AWS through our partnership, as well as how that's working on behalf of clients. So, Gavin, what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think very interesting. Thanks for that, Alex. I think now might be a good time. Let's maybe jump into Fusion Center. And Marianne, would you like to walk us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. So coming in, let's first talk through a bit more on that incident response use case that we had talked through. Ultimately, right, you come into a view like this that we've fully built out, leveraging all AWS capabilities, as we walked through a bit earlier, to be able to enable your teams to see given alerts, be able to have on the underside, the bones of it, analytics and engines running so that we can identify the things that matter most to your incident response team, and then being able to bring that up to the top, but ultimately be able to leverage a full case management solution. So you can come in here, you can see a given case that needs to be worked, needs to be addressed, and be able to tie in all of the given playbook components, look at those detailed steps of things that you need to accomplish, and help provide some of that added support to the incident response teams that are working the issue. And then be able to do things like add comments or attachments, really be able to engage. Similarly, if you have a situation where you have an existing case management tool, all of the same information we can then bring in and bridge into your existing capability, right? So being able to have that seamless view for you, regardless of if it's here or if it's in another solution, being able to pull in all of the necessary information to be able to then action an alert. I'll shift from here and note, right, if we're looking back at other situations that our incident response folks really need to work through. We had mentioned, right, the need for additional coaching, especially for folks who are getting upskilled in information security. Being able to leverage something like this chat functionality where you can say, hey, I saw a recent threat bulletin, and I need to understand a little bit more about it. I need to understand if it's in our environment, and really being able to prompt and ask things like, what should I do if this is present in my environment? And really, ultimately being able to look and generate the queries, execute those queries as well, to find where these things are in your environment, being able to make it more actionable to your teams, and being able to really feed in a lot of that information that might not be native to them right off the bat. And similarly, being able to build a repository of that conversation history, be able to better refine things for your analysts so that they can better leverage the logs that they're already using. So making it a little bit more actionable. And then we had talked about the longer term storage and some of the capabilities there. That really speaks towards some of the threat hunting capabilities. So being able to come in, be able to really dive into exploring the logs, being able to find things that are a little bit different, and being able to kind of workshop and work through that. So that's kind of a quick view of the incident response functionality. Is there any questions on that? If not, I can shift to the GRC, shift more to the compliance visibility as well.
Yeah, no questions. That was a great overview.
Perfect. From a continuous compliance standpoint, right, we've talked about those different domains, different regulations, all these different things that you're needing to navigate. And so that's really where this comes into play, where you can actually see and tie control statements and control IDs to those different regulations, and in real time be able to action, what it is that you need to do, where there's gaps, do some of that effectiveness testing so that, across NIST, across all these different regulations as well, you can really pull this together across and be able to say consistently, we're subject to all these different things. Writing and consolidating one procedure, one activity set that you need to do in order to satisfy those different regulations. Then you're able to tie them here so that as you have the data flowing through, as you have the logs flowing through, it can in real time note that effectiveness status or not effective. Now, some of these capabilities are not fully automated, but there can be workflows, and all of those workflows are associated here as well, so that you can see that full range, and you can be able to see the things that are not tested that need to be done more manual through the workflow and having the appropriate reminders versus the things that can flow through automatically and being able to set that effectiveness testing. As with everything here, one of the challenges can be around making sure that your issues management is then up to date as well. Being able to see and action where there is issues that need to be addressed, and then being able to assign those and tag those to the given controls and to the different activities that you need to satisfy, so that can all tie in together, and you can see the controls that are affected by the issue, and ultimately be able to again report out to your board, to your regulator, and be able to explore some of that functionality. So really being able to kind of dive into some of those areas here as well, and then being able to speak towards the things that matter most to them, which is their overall effectiveness, the overall actionability that they have here as well. So I think that kind of gives an overview. Do you have any questions on this one as well?
Yeah, no questions. I really like all the dashboards that you walked through and all the information. I think it's laid out very nice.
Great. Well, we have some more information that's available as well on our website, as well as in the marketplace. These opportunities are available. And so those are some of the ways to reach out to us. Obviously, you can reach out to myself and Alex directly as well. But we're really excited about a lot of these capabilities and the things that are available given some of the new AWS services that have been launched recently and that are on the line to be coming here shortly as well. So happy to explore a bit more.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Marianne and Alex, both for your time, and thank you for the overview of Fusion Center. I mean, that was fantastic. I mean, thinking about cybersecurity, compliance, and just kind of all the regulations specifically within the healthcare and life sciences space. It's extremely important, with the type of data that's being handled by our customers, right? And so, kind of like Marianne mentioned, I mean, if you're a customer or client out there, listening today, and you want to get in contact with PwC. About this particular solution that we just walked through, please feel free to check out the AWS Marketplace or reach out to this PwC team directly. And again, both Alex and Marianne, wanted to thank you both for your time today. Thank you for your partnership, as well as all of your other colleagues at PwC. And thank you to our viewers for tuning in to another episode of This Is My Offer.
Thanks, Gavin.
Thank you.